Hey, what's up guys? It's Dylan Sider with Kinfolk Carpentry here, and today I want to talk to you about hammers. And we're going to start off with just telling a little story about my first hammer. A Stanley Anti-Vibe straight claw 20-ounce hammer. And my dad took me to Home Depot when I was like 17 years old to buy this hammer. And he told me that you need to buy a 20-ounce hammer because it is heavy enough to frame with, it's light enough that you can do trim work with, and it's a good all-around hammer. They didn't have many options at Home Depot. It was basically like buy this or buy a Estwing. This is what I picked because I thought it looked cool. I've had it ever since. It's very beat up. I used it for demo, and one time a guy pulled a prank on me and drilled a hole through it, and he nailed it way up in the rafters of the house and I couldn't find it. So that's why there's a hole in the handle. That's my first hammer, and today I want to talk to you about all different types of hammers, the ones I've bought throughout the years and which ones I use on a daily basis and which ones I really like. So we're going to get into that. So I own a 14-ounce stiletto. It's a framing hammer, hickory handle. I own the 10-ounce stiletto. I own the Estwing 16-ounce. This was the second hammer I ever bought after this one. I don't know if you consider this a hammer. It's a mallet, but I actually use this a lot, and I'd like to talk about this a little bit. And then the most recent addition that was sent to me by Boss Tool Company. Fully American, very cool hammer, and I've had a chance to use it for a little bit now, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. This is the second ever hammer I bought. It's an Estwing 16-ounce, and it is kind of like a staple. I feel like it's your go-to trim hammer, and that's the reason I bought it. I felt like the one I was carrying around was too big for trim work, which I don't think it is. It's just a preference, and I saw guys carrying around a 16-ounce hammer, and I was like, I need to get one. And so I bought one, and this is, I've had it ever since. I don't use it that often, but I do wish that I bought an Estwing hammer instead of a Stanley as my first hammer. Now, if I could go back in time, I probably would buy an Estwing hammer first. And the reason is, I think there's something nostalgic about an Estwing hammer. My grandfather still has his first hammer that his dad bought him. It's a leather grip, 16-ounce Estwing, and he has it around his shop. He like hammers paint cans closed with it, and yeah, it's just like his shop hammer, and I think it's so cool. It's the classic hammer that if you were to draw a hammer, this is what you would draw, and I think there's something very nostalgic about it. So if I were to go back in time, I'd buy an Estwing for my first hammer, and I would recommend, if you're getting into the trades, buy an Estwing. Don't spend the money on any fancy hammers. Just buy an Estwing to start. I probably would buy a 20-ounce because I think it's the best all-around weight to start with. Now my third hammer was a gimmick hammer, and I wish I still had it because I've never seen anybody else swing one, and I'm going to find a picture online and I'm going to put it up as I'm talking about it. It was an Estwing also, but it had this like crazy curved fiberglass handle, and the face of the hammer was flat with the front of the handle. It looked really weird and futuristic, and honestly it didn't fit in a hammer holster really well, and it was just kind of very awkward, but I was like, this thing is so cool. I was like 19 or 20, and I was like, you know, everybody's gonna want to try this thing on the job site. It's so awesome, and it was a gimmick, and I think I ended up giving it to somebody. I ended up giving it to a coworker or something after a while, because I never used it. It would just kick around. That is a lesson for all of you young guys out there. When something looks cool, that doesn't necessarily mean it is cool. The fourth hammer I ever bought was the Stiletto 10-ounce titanium, and I have a fun story about this hammer. I was working for my dad, and we were ripping apart an old house, me and my brother, and we were scrapping all the metal we found out of the job without telling anybody. We would just load up our trucks and take it to the scrapyard and cash in all the old copper we were gutting and the radiators out of the house. And so we both had a couple $100 after doing all the demo, and we both decided to buy stiletto hammers. So this is what I bought And I know I just talked about don't buy the flashy hammer, but this was certainly super popular when I started in carpentry. They were like the creme de la creme of hammers. And to be honest, I love this hammer. I still use it to this day. It's still the hammer I carry with me every single day, and it's very sentimental to me. So this is the Stiletto 10-ounce titanium. So why titanium? Why buy such an expensive hammer? From my understanding, titanium actually transfers force a lot better than steel, so you need a whole lot less weight to have the same power. So a 10 ounce, I think, swings like a 16 ounce, and the 14 ounce swings like a 20 ounce. So you're carrying a lot less weight on your body, and it's a lot easier on your elbow when you're swinging it all day. So that's why they're considered a more premium hammer. And a lot of brands make them now, Boss and Martinez, and but this was kind of the original, was the Stiletto. And they're about $100, give or take. I think you can find these a little cheaper than $100. But I think they are worth the money. I don't really care how it swings. I don't really care that it transfers force and all those things. The number one reason why I like this hammer is that it fits in my belt very nice, and I hardly feel it when I'm carrying it in my tool belt. And that's the number one reason why I carry it. I have a very big pet peeve of carrying a long-handled hammer in my tool belt. It always knocks against my leg, and I would honestly take the inconvenience of having a very small hammer that doesn't hit as hard and all those things for the convenience of carrying it on my body all day and not feeling it. So right here, this is the sole reason. It is super light, don't even feel it. It doesn't hit anywhere on my body when I'm climbing around. You know, at this point, I've had this hammer probably 12 years, and I'm so used to it now. I've never changed the handle on it. It's been an awesome hammer, and it's just like part of me now. It feels super comfortable in my hand, and it's very hard at this point for me to switch. That does not mean that I think it's the best hammer. I think everybody has preferences. And when they use my hammer, it's like, oh, it feels like a toy. I can't get into that. And I have a few other hammers that I use in different areas, because when you're demoing something, this hammer is just like, it's too small to really like smash studs and do things. And that is why I bought the bigger version of what I have, which is the 14 ounce. And back, way back, like when I first started YouTube, in one of my videos, I cut the handle off because it had a real long handle on it. It had a real long handle, like probably this long, and it banged into my leg, and I hated it, and it would drive me insane. And I also drilled a bunch of just holes about 1/4 inch deep just to give it a little grip. And I use it occasionally. I use it for framing. But even most of the time, I use my 10 ounce for framing. But I do break this out if I'm framing, or definitely if I'm doing demo. But it's the same thing, you know. It swings a little heavier, and it has all the benefits of being titanium. And I think these run for maybe $110, $115. So they're definitely more expensive. They're definitely a little more of an investment. Drive a nail very well, and yeah. They don't break the bank too bad. They're not like your T-bone stilettos or your Martinez, like the M1s and things like that. They're like a $300 hammer, which I just can't justify. So, moving on. I decided to transition inside because it was getting dark out, and I got a shower, so I changed. But this is the next mallet/hammer I want to talk about. Bunch of different brands make these. This one's a Vaughan. I've had an Eastwing before. This is my second hammer, and I may have to pick up another one soon. But they come in very handy. when you're working with pre-finished material or even certain trims that you don't want to smack with a steel hammer and dent up. It's nice to have one that has a soft surface and a little bit harder surface depending on what you want to hit. So these always come in handy. I thought I would just toss this in as a quick side note. I know we're talking about hammers, but I use this a lot and they're very handy in lots of situations. And now finally, the last hammer I want to talk about that was recently sent to me by Boss Hammer Company. This is it here. It is a framing hammer specifically, and it's got a lot of cool features that I want to show you. So aside from this being the nicest hammer I own for actually driving a nail, and actually being very comfortable in your hand, it has a very nice grip on it. And it comes with a hole to fasten a lanyard if you're in more of commercial settings. I know sometimes that's required. Fits really nice in your hand. It's got a pretty heavy head on it. I think it's a 14-ounce head, but it's like a 32-ounce hammer, so it really packs a punch. And I want to show you some of the special features that I think really set this hammer apart from other hammer brands. So first off, the very cool thing is that it's a square. As you can see, that is perfectly square. And you can mark a 45 with it just by going to this line here. Perfectly square. That's a very cool feature. So from the face of the hammer to this line here is 1.5 inches, which is very nice for your typical stud layout. And from the top of the hammer to the bottom of the hammer is 16 inches, and they also give you 1.5 inch mark here. So if you were to be marking 16s and mark here 1.5 inches, and then in the butt of the hammer actually fits the bolt of your circular saw, so you can change a blade with it, which is awesome. It also comes with a side nail puller here. This thing is just packed full of features, and actually my favorite feature of this whole hammer is that it's proudly made in the USA, which I'm not sure there's too many hammer companies out there that are still making their product in the US, which I think is awesome. Here's something else they also sent along with the hammer and that they're available for purchase is these little caps that slide on the top. So when I talked earlier about this mallet, this actually does the same thing. I would say it's kind of the consistency of the hard mallet, but it gives you a nice non-marring face. Maybe if you're doing siding or exterior work, it's nice to just throw this on so you're not beating stuff up. If you're like, say, tapping up wood siding or something like that, that's very nice. And there's also another cap, which I actually find is very awesome, this one here, and it is specifically designed for cap nails. So if anybody has ever done cap nails, you know how annoying they are to drive by hand, because like a short cap nail, like typically you'd kind of hold it like this and tap it in, but you get very little room before it pinches your fingers. They've always been annoying to drive in, but this is sweet because they just stick on, you just give it a whack, bang, sets it, and then you just finish it off. So that is actually very cool and very well thought out. So yeah, that's the features of this hammer. Boss Hammer Company, check them out. I'll link them in my description. All right, guys, that's a wrap. That's all the hammers I own and have used in my building career. I would love to hear what you're swinging, and let me know if you've ever seen one of those crazy East Wing hammers, because I've never seen anyone use it. I wish I still had it. But yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.